Reading through the Bible in 1 year, July 7th, Joshua 9, Psalms 140 through 141, Jeremiah 3, and Matthew 17. When all the kings heard about Jericho and Ai, those who were in the Jordan, in the hill country, in the Judean foothills, and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea toward Lebanon, the Hethites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, they formed a united alliance to fight against Joshua in Israel. While they did that, when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they acted deceptively. They gathered provisions and took worn-out sacks on their donkeys and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They wore old, patched sandals on their feet and threadbare clothing on their bodies. Their entire provision of bread was dry and crumbly. And they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal and said to him, said to him and the men of Israel, "We have come from a distant land. Please make a treaty with us." The men of Israel should have gone to God, should have asked the Lord what they should do with these people. They should have asked God through probably the Urim and Thummim, or gone to God directly through Joshua and said, "What's up with these dudes?" But instead, they said, "Perhaps you live among us. How can we make a treaty with you?" And they said to Joshua, we are your servants." Then Joshua asked them, Who are you and where do you come from?" Well, they lied to him. "Your servants come from a faraway land because of the reputation of Yahweh your God. For we have heard of his fame and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two Amorite kings beyond the Jordan, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan, who was in Ashtaroth. So our elders and all the inhabitants of our land told us, 'Take provisions with you for the journey and go and meet them and say, "We are your servants. Please make a treaty with us." This bread of ours was warm when we took it from our houses as food on the day we left to come to you, but see, it is now dry and crumbly. These wineskins were new when we filled them, but see, they are cracked. And these clothes and sandals of ours are worn out from the extremely long journey, about 5 miles. Then the men of Israel took some of their provisions, but did not seek the Lord's decision. Again, this is what they should have done. So Joshua established peace with them and made a treaty to let them live, and the leaders of the community swore an oath to them. 3 days later, after making the treaty with them, they heard that the Gibeonites were actually their neighbors, living among them. So the Israelites set out and reached the Gibeon cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Chephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them because the leaders of the community had sworn an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. And the whole community grumbled against their leaders. And all the leaders answered them, "We have sworn an oath. We swore an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Now we cannot touch them. Instead, this is how we will treat them. We will let them live so that no wrath will fall on us because of the oath we swore to them." They also said, "Let them live." So the Gibeonites became woodcutters and water carriers for the whole community, as the leaders had promised them. Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said to them, "Why did you deceive us by telling us you live far away from us, when in fact you live right here among us? Therefore you are cursed and will always be slaves, woodcutters and water carriers for the house of my God." The Gibeonites answered, "It was clearly communicated to your servants that Yahweh, your God, had commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. We greatly feared for our lives because of you." This is again the fear of the Lord which fell on the people. "And that is why we did this. We are now in your hands. Do to us whatever you think is right." And this is what Joshua did to them. He rescued them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. On that day, he made them woodcutters and water carriers, as they are today, for the community and for the Lord's altar at the place he would choose. Now Psalms 140 through 141. Rescue me, Lord, from evil men. Keep me safe from violent men who plan evil in their hearts. They stir up wars all day long. They make their tongues as sharp as a snake's bite. Viper's venom is under their lips. Protect me, Yahweh, from the power of the wicked. Keep me safe from violent men who plan to make me stumble. The proud hide a trap with ropes for me. They spread a net along the path and set snares for me. I said to the Lord, "You are my God." Listen, Lord, to my cry for help. Lord, my strong Savior. You shield my head on the day of battle. Lord, do not grant them the desires of the wicked, nor do not let them achieve their goals. Otherwise, they will become proud. When those who surround me rise up, may the trouble of their lips cause. Let me restate that. When those who surround me rise up, may the trouble their lips cause overwhelm them. Let hot coals fall on them. Let them be thrown into the fire, into the abyss, never again to rise. Do not let a slanderer stay in the land. Let evil relentlessly hunt down a violent man. I know that the Lord upholds the just cause of the poor, justice for the needy. Surely the righteous will praise your name, the upright will live in your presence. Now Psalm 141. Yahweh, I call on you. Hurry to help me. Listen to my voice when I call on you. May my prayer be set before you as incense, the raising of my hands as the evening offering. Lord, set up a guard for my mouth and keep watch at the door of my lips. Do not let my heart turn to any evil thing or perform wicked acts with evildoers. Do not let me feast on their delicacies. Let the righteous one strike me. It is an act of faithful love. Let him rebuke me. It is oil for my head. Let me not refuse it. Even now, my prayer is against the evil acts of the wicked. When their rulers will be thrown off the sides of a cliff, the people will listen to my words, for they are pleasing. As when one plows and breaks up the soil, turning up rocks, so our bones have been scattered at the mouth of Sheol. But my eyes look to you, Lord, my Lord. I seek refuge in you. Do not let me die. Protect me from the trap they have set for me, and from the snares of evildoers. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely. Now Jeremiah chapter 3. If a man divorces his wife, and she leaves him to marry another, can he ever return to her? Would such a land become totally defiled? Wouldn't such a land become totally defiled? But you have prostituted yourself with many partners. Can you now return to me? This is the Lord's declaration. Look to the barren heights and see. Where have you not been immoral? You sat waiting for them beside the highways, and like a nomad in the desert, you defiled the land with your prostitution and wickedness. This is why the showers haven't come, why there has been no spring rain. You have the brazen look of a prostitute and refuse to be ashamed. Haven't you called to me, my father? You were my friend in my youth. Will he bear a grudge forever? Will he be endlessly infuriated? This is what you have said, but you have done the evil things you are capable of. In the days of Josiah, King Josiah, the Lord asked me, have you seen what unfaithful Israel has done? She has ascended every high hill and gone under every green tree to prostitute herself there. I thought, well, after she has done all these things, then she will return to me. But she didn't return, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. I observed that it was because of unfaithful Israel, and because that had committed adultery, that I had sent her away and given her a certificate of divorce. Israel was the first one to go into captivity. Judah was still left. Nevertheless, her treacherous sister Judah was not afraid, but also went and prostituted herself. Indifferent to her prostitution, she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and trees. Again, these aren't real stones or trees, these are idols. Yet in spite of all of this, her treacherous sister Judah didn't return to me with all her heart, only in pretense. This is the Lord's declaration. The Lord announced to me, unfaithful Israel has shown herself more righteous than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words to the north and say, return, unfaithful Israel. That's a horrible name. It's not wrong, but it's still horrible. This is the Lord's declaration. I will not look on you with anger, for I am unfailing in my love. This is the Lord's declaration. I will not be angry forever. Only acknowledge your guilt. You have rebelled against the Lord your God. You have scattered your favors to strangers under every green tree, and have not obeyed me. This is the Lord's declaration. What's he asking for? Repentance. Return, you faithless children. This is the Lord's declaration, for I am your master, and I will take you, one from a city and two from a family, and I will bring you back to Zion. I will give you shepherds who are loyal to me. These are, again, the priests, right, and prophets. And they will shepherd you with knowledge and skill. When you multiply and increase in the land, in those days, this is the Lord's declaration, no one will say again, the ark of the Lord's covenant, as in the thing that brings them salvation, the thing that they trust in. And it will never come to mind, and no one will remember or miss it. Another one will not be made. At that time, Jerusalem will be called the Lord's throne, and all the nations will be gathered to it, to the name of the Lord in Jerusalem. They will cease to follow the stubbornness of their evil hearts. In those days, the house of Judah will join with the house of Israel, and they will come together from the land of the north to the land that I have given your ancestors to inherit. I thought, how I long to make you my sons and give you a desirable land, the most beautiful inheritance of the nations. I thought, you will call me my father and never turn away from me. However, as a woman may betray her lover, so you have betrayed me, house of Israel. This is the Lord's declaration. A sound is heard on the barren heights, the children of Israel weeping and begging for mercy, for they have perverted their way, and they have forgotten the Lord their God. Return, you faithless children. I will heal your unfaithfulness. Here we are, coming to you, for you are the Lord our God. Surely falsehood comes from the hills, commotion from the mountains, but the salvation of Israel is only from Yahweh, the Lord our God. From the time of our youth, the shameful one has consumed what our ancestors have worked for, their flocks and their herds, their sons and their daughters. Let us lie down in our shame. Let our disgrace cover us. We have sinned against the Lord our God, both we and our ancestors. From the time of our youth, even to this day, we have not obeyed the Lord our God. For future reference. This doesn't happen for 70 plus years. Matthew 17. After 6 days. 6 days after what? After Jesus told them, truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, or also could be read, and is most often translated, coming in his glory. Now, again, strongly recommend you read the notes here in the Reformation Study Bible, and also here in the ESV Study Bible. I left them up for you to be able to read after 6 days. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, and led them up on a high mountain by themselves. The same three he typically takes with him when he does things like this. And he was transfigured, or his appearance was changed before them, and his face shone like the sun. His clothes became white as the light. Suddenly Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter, because he didn't know what else to do, said to Jesus, Lord, it's good for us to be here. If you want, I'll set up 3 shelters, or tents, tabernacles, if you will. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down and were terrified. They heard the voice of God the Father speaking to them, and yet they lived. And Jesus came up and touched them and said, Get up, don't be afraid. But when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus alone. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, Don't tell anyone about the vision until the Son of Man is raised from the dead. So the disciples asked him, Well, why do the scribes then say that Elijah must come first? Elijah is coming and will restore everything, he replied. But I tell you, Elijah has already come. And they didn't recognize him. On the contrary, they did whatever they pleased to him. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that he was talking, or he had spoken to them, about John the Baptist. When they reached the crowd, a man approached and knelt down before Jesus. Lord, he said, have mercy on my son because he has seizures and suffers terribly. He often falls into the fire and often into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him. And Jesus replied, You unbelieving and perverse generation, how long will I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him here to me. Then Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him. And from that moment, the boy was healed. Then the disciples approached Jesus privately and said, Well, why couldn't we drive it out? Because of your little faith, he told them. For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, Move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. What's this thing about mountains? That's a common idiom in the time for something that was an insurmountable task, something that just couldn't possibly be done. He said, even if you have the smallest bit of faith, of true faith in God, whatever you ask will be done. This doesn't mean you're going to get a Learjet, just putting it out there. God may give you a Learjet. It's not likely. Verse 22. As they were gathering together in Galilee, Jesus told them, The Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of men. They will kill him, and on the 3rd day he will be raised. And they were deeply distressed. When they came to Capernaum, those who collected the temple tax approached Peter and said, Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax? Yes, he said. When he went into the house, Jesus spoke to him first. So before he had said anything, Jesus stopped him and said exactly this. What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth, earthly kings, collect tariffs or taxes? From their sons or from strangers? From strangers, Peter said. then the sons are free, Jesus told him. But so that we don't offend them, go to the sea, throw in a fish hook, and take the first fish that you catch. When you open its mouth, you will find a coin. Take it and give it to them for me and for you. Love that. All right, that is all for today. So, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.